Hello? Can you hear me now? I hope you can hear me now. That's ridiculous. Um, can you hear me? Hopefully. For some reason, it didn't pick up my mic. Um, there you go. Fantastic. I'll have to fix this in post. I don't know why that happened. That hasn't happened with my microphone ever. Sometimes it happens with my video capture device, but it never happens with my microphone. So, but I'm glad it's back. Welcome to another episode. Another review, another reaction to episode 6 this time of The Last of Us on HBO. Another fantastic episode. They are setting us up to really start feeling some stuff, guys. If yeah, so episode 7 is called Left Behind. Episode 7 is going to be the entire episode, I believe, will be the story of Ellie, the flashback of her before she met Joel, how she became originally bit. The entirety of that DLC will be next week. There are 9 episodes. So episode 8, I believe, will be Ellie meeting up, finding the character of David, all of that part of the original game. Episode 9 will be the hospital. It's a snowball it's going to start rolling now. And we're going to get to the end, and there are people who will not be able to process. There will be people who've never played the game who will not be able to process the decisions that are made by the characters. They just won't be able to do it. So it's going to be pretty crazy, honestly. This episode was exactly what I thought it was going to be. In that it was great, but also they covered the exact stuff I thought they were going to cover, which is good. It's what you want. It's them getting to Wyoming, them at Wyoming, meeting Tommy, getting up with that, and then getting to Eastern California University, finding out the Fireflies aren't there anymore, realizing where they're going to go, and then Joel being impaled on something different than in the game, and and then and him losing blood enough that he passes out, and there's a cliffhanger. In the game, there's a cliffhanger as well. So this is exactly what they need to do to process all of this. It's some really great stuff. Some new characters introduced only for the show. Graham Greene, the great Graham Greene, and I don't know the actress playing his wife, but she was fantastic as well. 2 recluses, hermits living in a cabin out in the middle of absolute nowhere. And this is where the guy comes home after hunting some rabbits and walks in, and Joel is there, Ellie is there. They've got him hostage or whatever. For those of you who watch my Red Dead Redemption 2 streams, there will be another one immediately following this. Graham Greene plays the character of Rainsfall, who will become a major character in further episodes of my streams. Yeah, it is Rainsfall, Jake. It's a great character. But Graham Greene's just a master. He's such a great character. And but the interplay between them, the husband and wife, and Joel, they haven't seen anybody in a long, long time. And they started, just the interplay of how they directed them. And also, everyone who really, really wanted to see Joel being a little shit to Bill and the way Bill reacted to that, and they were deprived of that. I said in my review of that episode of people who wanted to see, that whole interplay, I'm pretty sure they'll find a way to put that kind of stuff into the show somewhere else. They'll find a way to get Ellie backsassing somebody into the show somewhere, and they. This was a wonderful sassy episode for Bella Ramsey. She killed it, and she got a chance to be that version of Ellie that so many people loved from the game and missed in this series. But I also love that they started out the little thing that Joel does, where he will tell two people separately to point to where something is on a map and compare their answers to make sure they're telling the truth, or at least they're both telling the same lie. But he did it first in a very in a place where you knew he wasn't going to kill either of these two people. You did that. He did that here, but later, I believe he's going to try the exact same tactic. When he's going to try the exact same tactic later in this series, probably in episode 8. And that's where we're going to see him get really violent about it. It should be very interesting. They're trying to find Tommy. They're trying to find the Fireflies. And these people don't know where it is. But please don't cross the river. That's the river of death. We've seen bodies over there, infected, not infected. They're just laying over there. People over there. Whoever goes over there, if your brother went across that river, he's dead. He's gone. And this is the first panic attack that we see Joel have. He has 2 in this episode. He explains them later as to why he's having the panic attacks. But man, Pedro Pascal. This was his episode, man. Like, he's gonna have another one later, but he's absolutely getting nominated for Emmys, Golden Globes, and I believe he'll win Critics' Choice Award, stuff like that, because he's absolutely killing it. This episode, his heartfelt, tear-streaked confession to Tommy about who he's become in his old age. Sad. Like, really, really, it punches you in the gut. Like, it's him feeling helpless now that he's gotten older and realizing that he all he's ever done is fail Sarah by becoming who he was, this murderer to stay alive. It's not the man that his daughter would have wanted him to be, and now as he's gotten older and beyond that, he's now feeling worthless, like he has another chance to save not only a surrogate daughter, but perhaps the entire world, and he feels like he is destined to fail in that mission. And this is a man for whom being manly has always been paramount, and he feels like he is falling apart. And that's a slow death to a man like that. Yeah, all of everything about him where they make it across the river of death, and they're surrounded by people with rifles on horses, and he has a little panic attack. Actually, he has 3 panic attacks in this episode. The second one is where he believes that this infection sniffing dog is going to murder Ellie. Yeah, man, it's wow. This is some really, really great stuff. Of course, the dog doesn't, because the dog, I guess, can't smell inert infection, only active infection. because that shit is there. It's in her. They'll find it later. Like we'll figure it out later that it's all over her. It just doesn't actually affect her, make her sick. Um, so the dog is not that kind of infection sniffing dog, I guess. But I thought that was really an interesting detail there. Another interesting detail, Maria. Um, yeah, the infection sniffing dog bringing Joel back to the night Sarah died. Yeah. Yep, exactly. And then realizing he couldn't do anything to stop it if it happened. Um, but Maria being pregnant now is we find out from Tommy after we have that amazing reunion between Tommy and Joel. We find out that Maria is pregnant, and that's an interesting aspect that they've added. Another something else, another condition for Tommy to play to having that be something that will always be on his mind. He will always um, try and he'll always have that playing in him somewhere. Every decision he makes will now become he'll have to weigh it against whether or not he'll be around to see the birth of his child. All that stuff, which is actually not just insinuated but stated outright, that he says no to first to taking Ellie the rest of the way because Maria is pregnant. And because I have a sickness, and this is the way my brain operates, and I can't turn it off, people, and I'm very sorry. I think more should have been made of the fact that Maria, as a woman in her 40s, um, is at great risk of a complication of pregnancy. And the reason I say woman in her 40s is because she says she was an assistant district attorney before, which is 20 years ago. And people generally aren't assistant district attorneys when they're teenagers. And once you get over 35, closer to 40, beyond 40, you can have children beyond 40. It as you get older and older, particularly in a place where there's not great medical care, those become very, very difficult to so like that that is something I wish they had, if they're gonna do it, I wish they had delved more into that, because that's a major concern now for that character, is not only just being pregnant in this world, but being pregnant in her 40s, in her probably mid to late 40s, considering that 20 years prior she was an assistant district attorney, and you figure you'd have to have gone through 4 years of college and at least 3 years of law school before you would ever be at this point. So that's an interesting choice that they've decided to make her pregnant at this age. She would have to be if 20 years ago she was an assistant district attorney. I'm sorry again that my brain works this way, but it does, and I can't stop it. The moment, though, that we find out that she was an assistant district attorney is when she is giving Ellie a little trim. Ellie asks her if she used to do this professionally. And she says, no, I was an assistant district attorney. But this is also where we find out, because there's a little memorial. It's a little chalkboard over the mantle that has Kevin and a date of birth and a date of death, and Sarah and a date of birth and a date of death. And Kevin is a was Maria's son, and Sarah was not. Ellie assumes so because Joel's never told her anything about his past at this point. There's I believe in the game, Ellie says to Joel, Maria told me about Sarah. But we never see that scene in the game. So they've decided to show us that scene because showing is better than telling. Um, uh, yeah, there's just some really great stuff there. Yeah, Mary tells about Sarah, but that's it. We don't actually see how, and in this way, seeing Ellie's reaction to that information in the moment, it really like it that the way she says, well, this explains several things about him. It is also kind of obvious the way that Tommy has lied to Maria about his role in things. I do not believe for a second that Tommy followed Joel. I believe Tommy began having regrets about what they had done earlier than Joel did, but I don't believe for a second that Tommy followed Joel. I believe Tommy told Maria that Tommy followed Joel. And if, as you can tell, that is the same reaction Ellie has. Is, yeah, I'll bet Tommy followed Joel. And that's fine. That's the yeah, that was great. There's a moment, a couple of really cool little Easter eggs, and one we'll talk about at the very end. For Easter eggs for Last of Us Part 2. Shimmer, which is the horse that Ellie takes to Seattle in Last of Us Part 2, who meets a very unfortunate end. Spoiler alert. Shimmer is nothing but a foal in this. She's one of our newest, they say, and she's very small. She's a juvenile horse. And also, in the cafeteria, as Ellie is wolfing down food, there's a teenage girl hiding behind a column in the cafeteria, and Ellie calls her out for eavesdropping and looking at her. That, I think we can all assume, is Dina, who will be a major player in season 2 of this show. So those were the first two little Easter eggs they gave us for part 2 for our season 2. The last one will be something we talk about at the end. But yeah, this is where we get to see Ellie mouthing off to Maria, Tommy to an extent. But I love that we get to see the full. It's not just the hydroelectric dam. We got to see that now, but in the game, that's where this whole reunion thing takes place. And they decided to no, let's have it happen in Jackson, the community that is fully built in episode 2 of the game, Last of Us Part 2. We don't get to see it until then. They show it to us now, and I think that is a really good storytelling device because it shows what Joel and Ellie could have if they make it back from Salt Lake City. This idyllic community where everyone barters with each other. I traded for a new pair of boots for you because it was the right thing to do. I just met you. Here's a nice new jacket that I bartered for. Everyone helps everybody else. Everyone, all the greenhouse, all the livestock. Everyone pitches in. Everyone does their share. Everyone gets part of it. It is a perfect commune. Joel throwing shade at Tommy, saying you're a communist now. Yeah, communism is badass when it's not run by dictators. Communism is really great if you can actually get it to work. The problem is humans fucking suck, and most of them, anybody who gets any power in that kind of area usually decides to break all the rules of everybody gets everything in equal share, and actually I'm gonna get most of it and you can all fight over the scraps. Also, that's capitalism, but we won't go into that. Yeah, that was some really great stuff there. I like that a lot. With Tommy like not wanting to admit, yeah, I know I was Desert Storm guy from Texas, but I'm living in an actual commune. Um, like Joel isn't the best dude. We love Joel. Of course, we love Joel. He's not the best dude. Like, why? Why can't you come? Why can't you take her? Why can't you take her? Because your wife won't let you. Like, come on. Do you have to be that guy, Joel? Can't you be a guy we all love and who's totally unproblematic? Can't we? Can't we be the guy? Can't we be that guy? But no, can't be. Um, uh, I. I think that this is true to life. It's like he's in the moment. I believe that's what he would think, but it also makes me go, okay, well, let's not forget who Joel is. That's the thing about it is I think a lot of people put Joel on a pedestal in the games, which is why his fate in part two is so unacceptable to some people. Is because they put him on a pedestal, and he was never that for me. He was always a very complicated man, um, always a very complicated man. Fighting with family is a dimension too. It is true. Um, um, but I thought this was all very well handled. The initial argument between the two of them, Tommy pushing his buttons, life may have ended for you or whatever. But I also like the thing that really crushed me, honestly, was at the beginning. At the beginning, where Tommy asks Joel how's Tess, and Joel lies to his brother, says she's all right, back home. Like that, Joel doesn't even feel comfortable enough with his own brother to tell him the truth about Tess, this woman he loved and lost. He's not ever like he doesn't even have the ability to doesn't have the ability to trust Tommy with that information. It's just sad to me, honestly. Um, um, there's the movies. Um, I I'm assuming they'll in their little podcast that they do for every episode that they will go into detail about why they chose The Goodbye Girl as a movie to play. It just seemed like such an odd choice. Um, I mean, I was assuming in 2003, VHS tapes, even DVDs, um, uh, would would be in ready supply everywhere. Every home you come across would have at least a couple dozen VHS tapes of stuff. Um, the Goodbye Girl seems like such an odd choice. It feels like it must be thematic for some reason. Not just the Goodbye Girl because you have to say goodbye to Ellie, um, who's a girl. I don't know why um, that was the movie they chose. It seems like an odd choice. And it's such an odd choice that it feels like it must be thematically important. It's been decades since I've seen The Goodbye Girl, which Richard Dreyfuss won the Oscar for. It's from 1977. Like it's such a weird choice to have that be the movie. Um, Especially since it's like most of the people in the audience are kids. Like it wouldn't be like a. I guess you'd have to get the rights to even show parts of a Disney film or something. Didn't doesn't Warner Brothers um have a whole like wouldn't they be what just Warner Brothers runs HBO, right? So you don't have to get the uh you wouldn't have to tell get a Bugs Bunny cartoon playing in there. It's not even a theater, Brent. It wasn't even a theater. It was not a theater. It was the cafeteria, like which is also doubles as the community center or whatever. They just moved all the cafeteria tables out of there and put in a bunch of chairs and put up a big projector screen, and they did the movie there. But it is odd. Such an odd. It feels like Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann must have been like, we're doing it for this reason, and I would love to know what that is. So if anybody hears them talk about it in some podcast episode, I guess let me know. It's my giant bottle of water. Hold on. I've decided to call it. Somebody it left a comment on the Elimination Chamber review on Select. Left a comment telling me what the name of my bottle is, and they should call it the model Rick Bottel. And no, it's not going to be called the model Rick Bottel. It's going to be called the bottle Rick Bottel. So this is, say hello everybody to the bottle Rick Bottel, because that's who this is. It's the bottle Rick Bottel. We get that amazing scene with Ellie and Joel, where he says, "You don't know what loss is," and she says, "Everyone I've ever cared for has either died or left me, except for you." It's a heartbreaking scene. It always has been. I think they handled it perfectly. Wonderful job by them. Yeah, I thought that was really well done. I love him giving her the choice and her immediately picking Joel to be the one to take her. I thought that was really well done as well. I loved their bonding, both on the way to Wyoming, which is where she tries to explain why she thought rubbing her own blood on Sam's bite mark would work, which doesn't make any sense. She doesn't know how it works, and well, neither does he. But their little talk about if it does work, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And he wants to ranch with sheep or whatever. Later, he admits he actually wants to be a singer, but she says that she wants to go to the moon. She wants to be an astronaut. And later, that's actually kind of a Easter egg for Last of Us Part 2 as well, because there's a flashback scene in there where he takes her to a museum and shows her a space shuttle unit or whatever. I think we're definitely getting that birthday scene. I hope so. It's one of the sweetest scenes in the entire canon of Last of Us Part 2. It's going to be beautiful. But I liked that scene, and I loved all of their interplay where he was teaching her how football works as they're just riding a horse through the snow, teaching her how to shoot, all of that. I love that they kept the monkeys. The monkeys that escaped from a lab on the campus and are still running around because they're those Japanese monkeys that thrive in the snow. That's so cool. That they kept those and put them in the show. No clickers, no bloaters. There were no infected in this episode. I think there were a lot of people who thought they were signing up for a monster movie series, hey, a bunch of zombies. hey, zombies, yay! And it's not that at all. Like there were a whole bunch of fucking zombies last week, but none this week. I think that they only are they're used more as an off-screen threat. Um, they certainly exist. People are scared of them. You don't want to be alone in a certain areas like that. They talk about how you can't go to Cody or Cheyenne, any of the actual cities, because they're full of infected. Um, so yeah, it is really interesting the way they've decided to handle it this way. But I love that when you do see infected, it's scary. Um, I like that. The Eastern Colorado University I thought was really nice. They perfect, like straight lifted straight from the game. Like I wonder how much of that was CGI because it looks exactly like the campus that they designed in the game. Um, that was really well done. I love that. The raiders that came onto campus after they found the packing list and the discarded medical equipment and all the fireflies coming from all different directions, including, I don't know if you saw this, one of the um, pathways led from Seattle. There was one from Seattle, one from Santa Barbara, because that's a major part um, of Last of Us Part Two. Is that Firefly have a base in yeah, it's um they have a base in Last of Us Part Two, and also from Boston. That all of them are coalescing towards Salt Lake City. That they all want to be there. I thought that was kind of a little cool map that they detailed for us. But when the Raiders show up, they're not armed to the teeth. They've got like lead pipes and crowbars, and one guy's got a baseball bat. They're looking for something, but like, and they'll kill you if they find you. But they're not there like taking like weapons and stuff, and it feels more um, uh, I don't know how to say it, gritty. That these guys just have, I don't know, clubs basically. And the one guy that comes at Joel swings the bat, hits a tree, bat breaks in half. Joel chokes him out and breaks his neck, but in the scuffle, that dude stabbed the shard of the bat handle that was still in his hand into Joel's gut. So it basically gives him the same wound, though it's not a through and through like the rebar was when he fell off the balcony. Um, but it's the same basic idea. It is not the best. That looks like close to the liver or a kidney. Bad stuff. But he's that the blood that came out when he pulled it out was black, which is never the right. When it's really really dark blood, that's when you know you've hit something really bad. I don't know how the hell they're gonna like. I sewed you up, and here's some antibiotics, and you're fine now. No, dude, you lost a kidney. Your spleen is gone. Um, but them getting away, um, um, them getting away from the raiders is them riding around on the horse and Ellie firing wildly behind her, which is those guys don't have guns to return fire. You know what I mean? So she can just lay down suppressive fire as they're riding away on a horse. They can't possibly chase her. So they got away, but Joel falls off the horse, having lost a lot of blood and passed out, and she tries to revive him, and the stuff that she says to him, I would venture a guess is the exact dialogue that they give her in Last of Us Part 2. Joel. Joel, get up. Joel, fucking get up. Joel, you get up right now. And I because these people love to fucking kill us, they're going to dovetail. They're gonna cut together Joel meeting his match in Part 2. They're gonna cut that together with Ellie, child Ellie, saying the same words to them. But yeah, that's the last Easter egg from Part 2. Ellie saying to Joel the same words that she's going to say to him later. So if you were of the opinion that maybe they'll have a change of heart, maybe they'll go easy on Joel, maybe he'll just live through the entire series, it'll be fine. Nah, they told you tonight they're definitely gonna do the same shit to Joel, and they're gonna make it hurt even more, because they're gonna do a callback to this moment where child Ellie is imploring him to get up. That scene is going to be very, very, even harder to watch than it would have been normally, I think. Yeah, episode 8 is going to be David. Episode 8 will be the David episode. Just like episode 7 is called Left Behind. It's Left Behind. It is the DLC from Last of Us Part 1. The preview of episode 7 that they showed at the end of this episode 6, was entirely scenes from that. All of it. So I'm assuming the entirety of the scene of episode next week is a flashback. That may be like a bookend of her dragging him somehow into the mall where they take refuge. Because maybe you could do like a juxtaposition of the mall from Left Behind, as well as the, like they do in the DLC of the mall that they're hanging out in, hiding away from the raiders. Yeah, so that'll be the David episode. It'll be episode 8, I think. Episode 8 will end with the end of David, and then episode 9 will be the hospital. And everything that happens at the hospital. But one thing I hope they do in the show is I hope that they'll do I hope that they'll do where Ellie starts throwing bottles to draw clickers from one end of a room to another. So that's where the raiders are. So she's going to use sound to draw clickers to where the raiders are hiding, and the raiders get taken out by that, because I always thought that was so friggin' clever in Left Behind. I hope they do that. I hope they at least do that. I don't need to see, like, Ellie jumping out of the shadows and stabbing a dude in the throat with a switchblade over and over again. There was a lot of that. Like, Ellie killed, like, in the last, in the winter part where she's trying to get away from David, and in, like, the resort, and then also in Left Behind, she kills, like, I don't know, 75 dudes. Yeah. It's rough. Yeah, Cinebay, yeah, it's the 45 plus year old crowd who never heard of the game and just got the recommendation from a smart TV to watch the show. They're gonna get emotionally gutted. This is the thing. There's so many people, I think, who are prestige TV critics who have no time for video games and think that they are worthless. Time sucks. They rot your brain. And they're watching this thinking this is amazing stuff, but they don't know anything about the game, so they're not going to be able to take it when that stuff happens in the show. It's going to be really really great. Um, yeah, I, I'm ready for Left Behind to emotionally wreck me because yeah, Ellie and Ellie and Riley, their little love story is so beautiful and heart wrenching. Before you get to the point where Ellie's probably going to have to watch her turn and then kill her. So, it's not great. Brent Lockman saying that found a thing that Ellie kills 182 people in part two. I believe it. There's a lot of people to kill. Um, yeah. Um, yes, this is a we're in a really good place with the series. I think we all know what we're gonna get here. And next week is Left Behind. Probably the entire episode is a flashback, maybe a few scenes interspersed. Episode 8 is David. That whole story and ending with the end of David. And then episode 9 is them finally getting to the hospital, being presented with all of that. The choice that Joel has to make, the choice that he makes, the aftermath of that, and it ends with the exact same ending of The Last of Us Part 1, where Joel makes him swear, and he lies to her face. It's going to kill, it's going to murder. Jesus Christ, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they put all this together, because it is a mind-bendingly fantastic experience to watch, and the way that they are hewing close to and deviating away from the original storyline of the game. It's incredibly well done. Incredibly well done. I'm so excited to see more of it. Even though I think I know exactly what is happening in the next 3 episodes, I'm sure I'll be surprised, and I'm sure I'll be emotionally wrecked, as will all of you, no doubt. Thanks everybody for being here for this reaction and review discussion. I love to see the chat like this. Hey, drop a like if you're here and watching these little things. I think a lot of people have really enjoyed it. I get a lot of really cool um, uh, um, notes from people about how this is a therapeutic for them. So I I'm very happy to be able to provide that for people. So if you have friends who watch the show and are looking for a little, um, you know, uh, little augmentation to their viewing, little companion piece, um, send them our way. But liking this video does more than you realize to help us out, and I really appreciate it. In about 5 to 10 minutes, we'll be doing a Red Dead Redemption 2 stream where we're going to try not to get eaten by a giant alligator, and then we're going to try and find the last gunslinger of the Wild West, and then we're going to attack somebody. It'll be we're gonna attack somebody from the swamps and tear down his mansion and abscond with him, and then whatever happens, who knows. So please come and hang out with us over there. Should be a lot of fun. Kate's going to be there. So thank you for that, everybody. And we'll see you in the next one, or we'll see you in about 5 or 10 minutes for the Red Dead Redemption 2 stream. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody, and endure.